champion.
At any national title, the stakes are high. But in an Olympic year, they're even higher. And on a tortuous course around Mount Buninyong, the coveted green and gold jersey is up for grabs.
It's Brodie Ballarat who gets the win.
It's an absolute dream.
This is the most prestigious one-day race on Australian soil.
Amanda Spratt opens up.
A win in Ballarat could lead to a trip to Tokyo and a spot on the Australian Olympic team.
And now the celebrations get underway.
Last year saw a stunning against the odds win by rising star Srah Gigante.
It's like more than a dream.
Amanda Spratt and Gracie Alvin are both dual winners of the title.
It's just the best feeling ever.
Mullens sees the door open.
And Peter Mullens, she also has her name on the honour roll. One that includes Australia's greats.
And now she's the champion of Australia. Amazing. A brilliant performance. She's the Australian champion.
Who will be crowned Australian champion in 2020? Hello and welcome to Buninyong for the Federation University Road National Championships. It's Super Sunday and the race is on to be crowned the elite Australian champion. I'm joined by two people who have the experience of wearing the coveted green and gold jersey. Brodie O'Donnell, an Australian criterium champion, in fact an Australian time trial champion I should say, and Robbie McHugh, an Australian road champion. For both of you, the significance of wearing that green and gold jersey. Brodie, the time trial, that race of truth was a big moment for you.
Absolutely, you prepare all summer for a race like that and everything has to come together on the day, and it was here on this course in Buninyong where I won, so it brings back some wonderful memories.
And Robbie, for you, you won a lot in Europe, wearing the green jersey in the Tour de France, but often we saw you wearing winning stages of the Tour de France with that green and gold jersey on.
It is such a special jersey and it's a big honour to carry that throughout the whole season in Europe. You could win as many races as you want throughout the season, but you're reminded every single day when you pull that jersey on that you are Australian champion. You're representing your country. It's a fantastic feeling to have it.
We've already had a group of Australian jerseys collected already, and all started at Federation Uni on Wednesday with the individual time trials. The test of truth, a new course, a new start and finishing zone as well. In the under-23 race, Cal O'Brien, the current world champion and world record holder in the team pursuit, was up against Luke Plapp, one of his teammates in the team pursuit. It was Luke Plapp, though, who was second last year. He got the win this time around. The future looks bright. Srah Gigante, though, she was a surprise winner last year in the road race. She did it again this time in the time trial.
She had an incredible second lap and overtook the two riders that were really pitted to win. And here's Grace Brown, last year's winner, coming in as the final rider, but not quite quick enough to beat Gigante.
In the elite men's race, we had Luke Durbridge as the defending champion, but he had stiff competition with the world champion, Rowan Dennis.
Well, it's hard to be the best in your country when you're racing the world champion, but Luke Durbridge, he's no stranger to racing under pressure. And it was his second lap again. He had Rowan Dennis covered all the way through that second lap. He held off the world champion to take another Australian time trial title.
Luke Durbridge getting the win ahead of Rowan Dennis. It was Chris Harper in third position. Srah Gigante is the elite time trial champion for the women, and it was Luke Plapp for the under-23 men. In the criterium, wet conditions, Sam Welsford, he emerged at the top. This was a brilliant performance, beating Caden Groves in the sprint finish.
Oh, so much power. The man they call Wombat, well, he found conditions that suited his physiology, and when he lined it up for that sprint finish, he just absolutely overpowered them in that run up to the finish line.
In the women's race, Chloe Hosking, she almost overshot the final corner.
Yeah, she took a really wide corner, but it probably helped her get a better path line up that hill to the finale. And to see Ruby Rosamond Gannon, the under-23 winner, be so close to winning gold overall was really impressive.
It came down to a photo. It was a confident Hosking who threw the arms up. She got the win just ahead of Ruby Rosamond Gannon, with Gracie Alvin in third place. Yesterday, almost 140 kilometres worth of racing. The under-23 men, super aggressive ride by young Elliot Schultz.
Well, it's always great to watch the under-23 races, and the juniors for that matter, because they are so aggressive. They just fly into it and leave nothing in the tank for the end, and always a fantastic race to watch. But what about this?
On the final lap, it came down to a race in two. Jared Drisner's getting the win ahead of Seb Berwick. It was an impressive performance by Drisner's. He won the National Road Series last year, and he's riding with one of the biggest development teams in season 2020. He's got the year off to a perfect start.
And that says, riding with that team, that you're on your way to the World Tour in probably just a year's time.
In terms of the elite women's race, the starters amongst the favourites, Srah Gigante, the defending champion, Lucy Kennedy and Amanda Spratt, they're both teammates. Brodie CHAPMAN, she's one to watch. So too Chloe Hosking. Tiffany Cromwell is ever present. Emily HERFOSS has got great form. So too has Jamie Gunning, Rachel Neylan, and Ruby Roseman Gannon keeps coming up as a dark horse, Brodie.
She had some great results at the Bakrits as well. She's been riding with the Victorian Institute of Sport on the track for some time, but a very experienced and calculating rider, so look out for her.
Can Srah Gigante go back-to-back, Robbie?
She can. She's a year older. Well, a year less young. She's 19 and wiser. She's got a lot of experience. And just looking at her physically compared to last year, she's a couple of kilo lighter. I think she's going to smash this course. She's the woman to beat.
The course, the opening few kilometres are the toughest physically as they go over Mount Buninyong. For the last few years, they've made the detour in through Federation Uni, which last year, I think that enabled in the men's race, Michael Freeberg to get back and be able to win. It changes the dynamic.
It is a really tricky little part, lots of corners, fast off camber. It's a chance for a breakaway to open it up over the peloton, but also a dropped rider to make their way back onto any group they've been dropped from. So I think it's a good addition.
Let's get down to David McKenzie, himself a former Australian champion. He's with some of the contenders.
It's a nice feeling that you're back to defend. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm super excited. A bit nervous just because I care so much, but yeah, I'm just looking to have a really good race. Hopefully it's a lot of fun and yeah, I can try my best.
Interesting. There's a lot of girls out there who I think Mitchelton will be keeping an eye on, so that will make things interesting because they can't chase everything. So yeah, it'll be exciting.
I'd need to get around each lap calm and comfortable. I think. I mean, comfortable. It's a bit of a stretch, but we'll see. Yeah, I mean, obviously stay on your bike. That's a start.
There are a few. I think FDJ, like I said, have a really strong squad. Brodie CHAPMAN, Lauren Kitchen, Shara Gillow, Srah Gigante proved how strong she is in that time trial. Rock Salt Specialised, also really strong teams here. So yeah, we also have a really strong team. So I hope we can get the green and gold jersey.
At the start of the race, the Redcoats are ready to get it underway. Gun firing to get the race started. The race has been going now for 1 hour and 17 minutes. A look back at the beginning of the race. A rapid start to get into that corner to take their first look at the Midland Highway and the opening climb, Robbie.
Always important to start quite near the front, so you give yourself at least the opportunity to drift back through the bunch a little bit if you need to, if the legs are not quite ready for this first big effort. But always riders keen to attack very early, try and get themselves into the early breakaway. You see them come over the top of the McCain KOM the first time.
And it was Madeline Wright who was leading them over the top on the first occasion. The Rock Salt Attacker colours, number 15, also riding up towards the front. That is Justine Barrow. That is a team that wins the title as possibly the best looking kit in the race, Brodie, but it's also a team that can win this race. They've got a former winner, Peter Mullens, on the squad.
And Taryn Heather is a really experienced time trial rider, and they'll be both riding in support of Emily, but it actually gives them a little bit of additional firepower to have such a strong team.
And the race splitting up on that first lap, Robbie, there was a fall on the opening lap, which has reduced the side of the leading peloton significantly.
There was a big crash early on, and it left the peloton split into 3 major groups with a lot of stragglers in between. One of the affected riders was Tiffany Cromwell. She was up to 2 minutes behind in Group 3 along with Lauren Kitchen. So a lot of pre-race favourites, or riders to watch at least, were heavily affected by that early crash. They got going again, but it looks like their day is pretty much done. It's an all-day chase, and as we see live pictures now, that bunch, that is the main group, is tiny.
Chloe Hosking in the orange colours, the winner of the Criterium wet conditions on Wednesday. She was good here last year. She's made it pretty clear that she's not a huge fan of the course. She doesn't particularly like the climb. But, Brodie, she's a better climber than I think even Chloe gives herself credit for.
Well, we've seen her ride incredibly well at the Cadell Evans race. We've also seen her do very good laps around the Commonwealth Games circuit when she was the protected rider to win there last year. So one of the things we know about Chloe is she wants to have the best race that she can. She's focusing on some strong performances in the Spring Classics. We heard a hot tip from her dad that she wants to do very well at Strade Bianche, one of the first World Cup races for the women. And when I saw her this morning, I asked how she was going. She said, I just want to have the best race I can.
And I think that's a good mindset for Chloe. She won the Criterium. She is more of a pure sprinter. And on this course, she would have to have the day of a lifetime on the bike to get around with the leaders and challenge for the national championship. But the big news so far in this race is this is our leading trio. Amanda Spratt, Justine Barrow in the middle from Rock Salt Attaqueur, and Grace Brown. They have over 135 lead on that chasing peloton. Amanda Spratt, a big pre-race favourite, and she's gotten off the front with a teammate. Very little reaction from behind, and I think she has really caught them by surprise.
This is a huge move by the Mitchelton Scott team, because so often they're in the position where the early break goes, and they're the team that everybody else looks to as, you're the big team, you're the World Tour team, you have to chase. There's a really good strategy for not having to chase. Be the team dominating the breakaway.
And also Barrow is such a great climber. We've seen her perform really well in National Road Series. She's won QOM jerseys and stages that finish on top of climbs. And she's a qualified physiotherapist, but has given a lot of her time in the last 3 or 4 years to really dedicate herself to road cycling. So she's doing incredibly well for this team.
Well, you can see she's not just along for the ride. She is setting the pace on the climb. And we've seen, I've been following the social media over the first hour and a half of the race, seeing some video from the climb. She has really been applying the pressure on this main climb up Mount Buninyong and had Grace Brown in a little bit of trouble a few times.
What did you make of the images there of them going up that climb? It looked as if she was riding a much bigger gear than the other two. She's probably looking deeper in towards the red zone than Brown and Spratt in terms of the gear ratio she's using.
And Barrow's a pretty slight sort of rider, but she does tend to ride a lower cadence like that. She'll be certainly focusing, I think, on winning QOM jersey, and I imagine that Amanda and Grace would be happy to let her take that and be along for the ride. To have her teammate, Emily HERFOSS, who's leading the National Road Series, be back in this group is an interesting choice, though, because to get that sort of significant lead, Barrow is not going to outsprint either of those two Mitchelton riders in the finish.
Well, at first glance, it did look like Barrow was doing a lot of the work, doing it a bit harder, riding that big gear, looked a little more intense. Being up the road with 2 pre-race favourites from Mitchelton Scott, I wonder if she's maybe soon going to get the call from the team director to do a little bit less, start to take advantage of the other two, because we've still got good riders sitting back in this chasing group.
We see now with Specialised, I mean, they've got the biggest team here today, 8 riders, and Kate Perry there on the front said to me at the start line that, you know, they've got a very strong team with a lot of cards to play, but they'll be feeling pretty frustrated that they managed to miss an opportunity to not have a rider up in this front group.
This is Kate Perry, who's on the front for the Specialised team. They do have one of the pre-race favourites, Jamie Gunning. She's sitting a little bit further back in the group. It's Elizabeth Stannard who sits in second position. And early in the race, we saw Kate Perry spending a lot of time on the front trying to control the race.
Well, seeing the pace set on the front of that peloton at the moment, that would be the reason that Justine Barrow will have the go-ahead to give a full contribution to this breakaway, because it might be 2 minutes, but 2 minutes is not a really huge gap on this circuit, and at times on this climb, you can see across a 2-minute gap. So they still haven't got this thing won. 55 kilometres to go. That is still a very long way around the Mount Buninyong circuit.
And also with it being cooler today, you know, we're less worried about these kinds of riders staying out on their own for a long time. They've got a much greater advantage going into a feed zone with only 3 of them, and they're not fighting to get a good position, but they're also less protected from the wind on this climb. So there's pros and cons.
Well, you can see that formation, though, just in staggered across the road, just looking for that little bit of shelter, sitting 3/4 on the wheel.
This is the cadence that I was talking about. Amanda Spratt at the front. She's on the small chainring, riding a high cadence. It's still big chainring for Barrow in second position, and the hips are rocking and rolling in the saddle.
What I think is interesting about Barrow, she rides a lot with her husband too, is an incredibly strong Masters rider and uses him as a motor pacing tool. Has boasted the Strava KOMs around Melbourne. So very experienced, but I think there's a little bit more at stake for her. So you're right, she may not have that same cool, calm and collected approach to being in a break, and we saw Perry ride like this last year as well.
If you're going to award the title just on how they're looking at the moment, it'll be Spratt all the way. Just nothing on the face, just completely relaxed, tapping out the rhythm. The other two looking to have a little bit of stress on this section of the climb. This is the steepest part they're coming onto as well.
How confident is this move by Amanda Spratt to attack so early?
I also think she didn't have the World Championships that she wanted to have, you know, in Cornwall, and didn't come away with the performances. And so she's had a really motivated summer. Is certainly motivated for next week's Women's Tour Down Under as well. So she's probably wanting to test how her legs are feeling in these circumstances.
I think Amanda Spratt is thinking to herself, 55k to go. That's not far.
For Amanda Spratt, it's not. Number 36, this is Emily Watt. She's one of the younger riders in the race. She's eligible for the under-23 classification. And the team that she's riding for, Subaru Giant, they've got two teams. They've got a men's team and a women's team. And they made the decision they were not going to have any team if they couldn't have two teams. Defending champion in third position, Srah Gigante. I wonder what's going through her mind now without any teammates in this group as Stannard sets the tempo up the climb for Specialised.
And in second wheel, that's just trying to
looking comfortable as
slow things down. But Lucy Kennedy's just there with a presence saying, well, no one else is going to come through when you swing across. I've got two teammates up the road, and for Mitchelton Scott, well, now this is where she does have to cover.
This is a smart move. This is the defending champion. This is Srah Gigante. She's using the top of the climb. The woman who is with her, that's Jaime Gunning. Sure, they're both eligible for the under-23 classification, but they want the elite title. Kennedy responds. Chloe Hosking is losing ground in the white and blue colours. That's Shara Gillow. Number 18 in the rock salt attacker colours. That's Bree Wilson. She's doing well to stick with them. Let's get down to David McKenzie.
Carly, I've got the bunch coming towards me now, and I can tell
Well, here we are. Look at this, the peloton. Well, it's not much of a peloton, guys. Up on the climb now, it is really starting to string out. You can see Lucy Kennedy in the front there, Brodie Chapman as well. We have never seen this before in the elite women's race. Amanda Spratt, one of the world's best cyclists, attacking so early. And I can tell you what, look at me, I've got the jackets on. There was a couple of spits of rain just a few moments ago as well. It hasn't warmed up at all. This is one of the toughest women's national championships that we've seen for a number of years. They know they can't afford to wait any longer. It's race on right now.
Grace Brown is at the front setting the tempo, followed by Amanda Spratt in second position. It's Justine Barrow in third spot. Get a clear impression here that it is Grace Brown who is the workhorse for Amanda Spratt. Spratt sets the tempo up the climb because there's less of an advantage sitting the wheel at that point. Once they're over the top, Brown is emptying the tank for Spratt.
Yeah, it seems to be the scenario, and that is the team hierarchy as well. Amanda Spratt is the team leader, along with Annemiek van Vleuten, of course, and Mitchelton Scott. Van Vleuten, a Dutch woman, not riding the Aussie Nationals, of course. But Amanda Spratt, she has taken the bull by the horns in this race, Brodie, and to go out this early, I think after the last couple of years, being a little bit on the back foot and trying to rescue the situation, get out in front and just be in control.
The other thing that's interesting about Spratt is she won in 2012 in the year of the London Olympics. She won in 2016, the year of Rio Olympics. And so it's her turn to win again now in the year of the Tokyo Olympics. But I think, you mentioned Van Vleuten before, to have a teammate like that who's been a world champion in the TT twice and now in the road, who attacked 9 kilometres into the World Championships last year, and everyone said, oh, she can't stay away for 130k, and she just said, just watch me. That would be pretty inspiring for a rider like Spratt. She's evolved a lot in the last 3 years. We saw her win silver at the World Championships behind another Dutch woman. She is not only someone who's spent her whole adult life being a professional, but she's gained a newer confidence and calm and extraordinary ability to race hard. So, I have a lot of respect for her, but this, as you say, Robbie, is her saying, let's have a crack. It's only an hour and a half to go.
I wonder how motivated she is by 4th place in the individual time trial, because she's made a return to the time trial thinking about the Tokyo Olympics, and it's an unfamiliar position for Amanda Spratt to miss out on a medal in an event that she has targeted. But we also have to keep in mind that on Sunday she had a training crash when she was at the Lexus of Blackburn Bay Crits, when she was riding to the course, and as a result of that, she split her helmet. The helmet was cracked, so she couldn't start that race. It will have had an impact on her. She won't make it as an excuse. She said she's fine, it had no impact, but it sure have had some sort of an impact.
Absolutely. If the helmet's broken, which is what they're designed to do, of course, but if you fall hard enough to break a helmet, there will be some level of concussion. So it was a good idea, and the right decision was made to not start on that 3rd day of the Bay Series there in Williamstown. But I'm sure she's 100% recovered, and she's showing that today. 2 minutes and 6 seconds. The gap is staying stable at the moment under that chase. And look at the speeds down the hill. 80 kilometres an hour.
And this is a really sharp right-hand turn when they get down this descent to then go into the university, and it's a little rough on the exit point of the apex.
I rode this corner a couple of hours ago. I did a bunch ride early this morning when it was only about 7 degrees. It's up to a balmy 12 or 13 right now with an expected top of 22 here in Buninyong today. But they're through there safely, through this university section, through the Federation University. It's important to really keep pushing, not look behind too much. You won't see back across the 2-minute gap, Justine Barrow. You can open up the gap through here, take just a few risks in those corners, and they're a lot faster and more off camber than you think. Think back to Luke Durbridge's crash a couple of years ago in the men's race.
It can be disruptive to the chase through this section, but this small cohesive group of 3, this is a part of the course where they can make up time without spending much more energy than the peloton.
And certainly that group at the back is looking disorganised. We saw one attack by Gigante that was monitored by Gunning, but with riders like Hosking, she's not going to be motivated to work on her own in a group of 15 or so. So this is definitely playing into the hands of these leading 3 women.
Well, it was about a minute and a half ago now that I said they're staying steady at 2:06. It's now out to 2:15. That fast downhill, that right-hand corner and into the Federation University grounds, they have opened up that gap a little bit more. And they're certainly not flat through here. At first, kicks up, they've taken that left-hander, and they're about to come towards the faster downhill section. A combination of lefts and rights before they come back onto the main road, which will bring them into the final 2 kilometres of this circuit.
Interesting up and down through here. Robbie, you were saying you rode it this morning. While it's probably decent in a bunch ride, we've seen in some of the bigger groups that it actually can become a little technical with some of these little road bumps and twists and turns and a bit of off camber. So you've got to be paying attention.
It's particularly the next corner coming up. They're just about to come to. This is one of the faster parts through this section of the course, and it's this right-hand corner. And this is the one where Luke Durbridge, he just got a little bit wide, lost traction on the front tyre, slid across the road, and then hit the gutter on the left-hand side and broke his collarbone. So everyone aware of that corner.
It's also the same
fatigue
section.
plays a big role. When you're coming into there, you can just make a little mistake in your whole race.
It's also the section where we saw Gigante ride away from possibly a slightly distracted Srah Gigante last year when she was in that small group, and just momentarily those riders just didn't pay enough attention to her acceleration.
Look at what has happened to the time gap now. It was at 2 minutes and 4 seconds as they were going over the top of the climb because of that reaction that was coming from Srah Gigante. It is now down or out to 2 minutes and 21 seconds. Disruption within the peloton, consistent pace making out in front.
Now, another team to be disadvantaged, obviously, by this is a powerhouse team of 3 of Française de Jeu. That's Shara, Gillow, Brodie Chapman and Lauren Kitchen. We can see Gillow over to the front on the left of your screen, and then to the right slightly number 7, which is Brodie Chapman. I haven't seen Lauren Kitchen, so she may have also
She was involved in that early crash.
Yeah.
She was caught in that group with Tiffany Cromwell, who were over 2 minutes behind by the time they got going again after that crash. So
riders, yeah.
an important domestique for the team to try and rectify a situation. They've got to make a decision. Someone's got to do something for the other, or this race is over.
The Specialised team, they have 4 riders in this group, and they are not doing any of the pacemaking. They need to get organised. They need to encourage others to assist with the chasing. Now they've got Kate Perry, who returns to the front. She was distanced towards the top of the previous climb. It looks like Kate Perry has moved back towards the front once again.
Well, now they're in a situation like this. The lead of 2 minutes and 22.
That's a Richie Benno number if ever I heard one.
Isn't it just?
What I'm finding interesting, though, is from what we can see of these vision, that it's not necessarily clear whether Brown and Spratt have a specific plan around who should be conserving more energy. They are rolling their turns equally, but I'm not sure how aligned they are about what the approach is.
Leading group of 3 with an advantage of 2 minutes and 25 seconds as Juliana Addison, the MP local member for Windaree, has a significant announcement about the next 3 years for the future of this event.
Look, this is a great event. We love the the road nats in Ballarat, and I'm very pleased that the Victorian government has made a commitment to keep the road nats in Ballarat until at least 2023. So the next 3 years of road nats being hosted in the wonderful city of Ballarat has been locked in, and we can't be happier. I'm so passionate about the road nats because this event is fantastic for our community. It's January in Ballarat, and 25,000 cyclists, their support teams, their families, their friends all come to Ballarat for a great weekend, number of days of cycling, and we welcome them, and we're so thrilled to be here. It's great for our local economy, and we think it's one of the great crit courses of the world.
Welcome back to Buninyong for the Road National Championships. It's the elite women's road race. There's a breakaway group of 3. It consists of Justine Barrow from Rock Salt Attacker, and she joins one of the pre-race favourites and a 2-time winner, Amanda Spratt, along with the silver medalist from the individual time trial this year, who won that event last year, Grace Brown. They have an advantage of 2 minutes and 13 seconds, 45 kilometres remaining. The peloton trying to get themselves organised with the chase as they go through the 500-metre marker before they hit the finish line in Buninyong once again. Robbie McEwen, this has been a bold move by the Mitchelton Scott team that it forces the hand of everybody else, and their strongest cards are on the table early.
Well, Mitchelton Scott's strongest card certainly on the table with Amanda Spratt, the designated team leader, although they're always prepared to ride for someone else should the situation dictate that. But Amanda Spratt off the front with a teammate in Grace Brown, another strong climber in Justine Barrow. They had 2 minutes and 4 seconds over the top of the climb last time. They pushed it out to 2:25 as they came through Federation Uni just 5 kilometres ago. Now it seems the chase behind is a little more resolute, and they've brought it back a little bit. As they get onto the climb, Amanda Spratt, she sets the pace. And for mine, that's to keep Grace Brown on board, keep her near her limit without blowing her up, and Grace Brown can keep contributing because it is still 45 kilometres to go. She needs to keep her on board. She can't just unleash the beast quite yet, Amanda Spratt. She's got to bide her time and just try and keep this gap intact. As it now is telling us, they're back out to 2:30, so maybe a little bit of misinformation there on the timing, down to 2:10, back out to 2:35.
There on the right of the screen with these specialised riders is Matilda Reynolds, the tallest rider in the specialised team. Great sprinter and had some strong results at Supercrit and at the Bay Crits, but certainly not someone who would be targeting this course. So specialised really need to use these riders like her, Taryn Heather, Kate Perry, so that they can protect Jamie Gunning, who is absolutely their under-23 jersey winning possibility, and their best climber.
We see there in the orange jersey on the right of picture, Chloe Hosking, the winner of the Women's Elite Criterium. Last time up the climb, there was that attack by Srah Gigante, last year's champion. And at that moment, Hosking said, "That's my pace. This is all I can manage." A flick of the elbow, telling others, "Go past me." But she drifted backwards, comfortably back into the group over the top, and now back at the front of the group as they hit the climb again. As she said before the race, "I just want to ride my best race, do the best result I can on a course that really doesn't suit me." She's doing a great job.
She's riding really well, and also in the navy blue colours, that's Rachel Nayland. She's medalled in this race before. She's medalled at the World Championships with a silver medal in 2012. The course suits her, but she's isolated. She doesn't have any teammates.
She's often in that situation where she rides for a professional team in Spain or Italy, and her teammates, of course, aren't racing here. So she has to be an opportunist in the same way that Hosking and we've seen Cromwell have to do in the past. So it's taken a very good day, or particularly hot weather, where Nouvelle has been riding really, really well. Obviously, she's very slight.
And that's just zooming out, that was another group, and I think that was one of the groups that was affected by that crash. They've been trying all race to get themselves back on terms and get themselves back in the peloton. They can see the back of the convoy. It is a very, very long convoy. They are still around a minute and a half behind.
And there's some quality riders in that group. Lauren Kitchen is amongst them, who's medalled in this race in the past.
That'll be the Tiff Cromwell group.
And so too Gracie Elvin, who's won the race twice.
So some real quality riders been affected by that crash early, and maybe that is what led to such big attacks, and Amanda Spratt deciding this is the moment to go. The bunches at 6s and 7s.
What I think is really smart by Justine Barrow, each time they get onto the steep part of the climb, she stays directly behind Amanda Spratt as opposed to sitting behind Grace Brown. And she knows Spratt is the one that is more likely to attack, or she's certainly the one that is appearing to be the strongest on the climb and can put the other two into difficulty.
We saw the facial expressions of Grace Brown when they were going up through the feed about 3 or 4 minutes ago, and she certainly didn't look as anywhere near as comfortable as Spratt does. She had a big crash at the end of last season, which took her out of the Australian team for the World Championships. So she wouldn't have had the ideal preparation over this summer that she might have liked. Obviously, we've heard with Spratt as well, bushfires and smoke haze have really affected a lot of athletes' preparation. Sometimes from a personal perspective, they've got homes that have been under danger and family and friends that might have had to be evacuated. But then from a more athletic perspective, you can't train for long periods of time in hot, smoky conditions. It's not good for you and it's not performance enhancing. So it probably has compromised the preparation of quite a few athletes in this southeastern part of the country.
You can see the pressure that Grace Brown is under, sitting behind Amanda Spratt, who looked really composed, Amanda Spratt, before the race got underway. She's got a good group of people around her. She's got a family around her. Beyond having the Mitchelton Scott team with her, which she's been with since the inception of this team, her brother Nick is riding tomorrow. He also participated in some of the earlier races. He also rode in the Bay Crits at the start of the season. And her dad rode in the Le Tour at the end of the year, at the beginning of December, 66 years of age, and he finished 3rd in the shorter version of the race, which was 107 kilometres, against people ranging in ages from 15, 16 up to 70 years of age, and 66-year-old Dad Spratt was in 3rd position, so he's the current holder of the Spratt Cup.
Well, rankings are irrespective of performance, aren't they? I think what's cool about Amanda too is she's inspired a lot of, as you say, riders older than her, people who are in different experiences, because she's just this quiet achiever who ticks away at her tasks and works really, really hard in the off-seasons.
It's pretty cool though, isn't it, Robbie, to be one of the best in the world and do your pre-season training with your dad and your brother?
Well, like you said, Amanda Spratt's one of the best in the world. Her dad got 3rd in that L'Etape. So I'm wondering how good Mrs. Spratt must be.
Brodie CHAPMAN now having a bit of a dip here up the climb as they approach the QOM. So she's obviously riding for a Française de Jeu. She has a teammate, Shara Gillow, and her other teammate, Lauren Kitchen, is back in that second group.
And this is causing a big split, and they need to split this peloton up, Robbie, so they can get more riders working as opposed to just relying on the riders from Specialised.
And they will have a couple of passengers. At least they'll have Lucy Kennedy up there and probably a couple of riders from Roxhold Attacker, the teammates of Justine Barrow. They need to split it, get riders who are motivated and able to do turns. We see here Chloe Hosking, number 10 on the left in the orange.
And number 12,
champ, the sprinter, she's been dropped off.
Number 12, that's Jessica Pratt. She won the Zwift Academy Prize to get a contract with the Canyon SRAM team. She's finding the going a little tough on this climb.
Here at the back of this group is Laura Luxford. Greg Henderson coaches her, actually, former Olympian and now professional coach from New Zealand. He was giving me a bit of a hot tip about Laura and was hoping she might get away solo, but obviously not the same capability as some of these professional road cyclists.
And Ruby Roseman Gannon was also in that back portion of the group. More noted as a criterium specialist and a strong track rider. She's finding this climb a little bit too much. This is a select group, though, Robbie, that is forming at the front.
Yeah, well, Rachel Nayland, she's been just dropped off the back of this one. Still up there. Peter Mullens is on the back for Roxhold Attacker. Number 47, that is Kirsty Deacon.
And number 21, that's Jamie Gunning. That's the rider that the Specialised team has been working for. The defending champion, number 1, Srah Gigante. This is a good group for her. Even if they've got a passenger, number 4, Lucy Kennedy, she won't work with this group. She can certainly force the pressure. David McKenzie, it's all happening near the top of the climb.
It certainly is, Matt. You can see the chasing group coming. It's no longer a peloton. In some ways, it's not surprising, is it? But you can see now it is Srah Gigante, the defending champion. She will lead the chase across the top. You can see FDJs, that's Shara Gillow, Lucy Kennedy, Rachel Nayland, as you mentioned, the silver medalist previously at World Championships. But it is strung out. It is now or never, I can tell you, because when I saw Amanda Spratt Grace Brown come through. They look composed. They looked on top of their game, and they have got a very good gap indeed.
Robbie, you did note the orange colours of Chloe Hosking. She can still see that group in front of her.
Sprint up and over the top, and that's the tactic for a sprinter on a course like this. Stay within yourself, ride your tempo. When you get near the top, and there she is, she's made it to that group, then put in that sprint, give it everything you got to get onto last wheel, and then she's going to have to sit there and just try and recover as much as she can. She's on the wheel of Brie Wilson from Rock Salt Attacker, but this is a chasing group. This was led by Rachel Nayland, and there is a significant gap now. They were quite close to that group of Srah Gigante as they came towards the top. Now this group, this is the Gigante group, they really need to stay on top of it now. They need to punch it across the top and try and really open that gap and get rid of all passengers, and that is what Gigante is doing now, number one.
It's a strong group, but the challenge is, of course, that they'll all have very different motivation, and as we know, Kennedy will not be that interested in doing any work. She'll just want a passenger there, so that's number 4, sitting in 4th position. Shara Gillow, now the only rider for Francais de Jeu that's in the front section of the race, but really strong performance by Gunning. Gunning looks frustrated. She looks very comfortable on the climb. That's the specialised rider there, number 21, sitting in 2nd wheel, and clearly Gigante is absolutely motivated to bring this back together.
I thought that was a sign of great maturity by Srah Gigante. As soon as they go across the top of the climb, that's the moment where they can pause and lose time, or stay on the gas and make up time. They need to stay away from that bigger peloton so they can maintain the momentum. But what they also need to do is coordinate it so as number 4, Lucy Kennedy, with 2 teammates up the front, is at the back of the group and doesn't disrupt their rhythm.
Yeah, and I don't think Lucy Kenny's the type of rider to try and put herself in there and get to the front and slow them down. But Shara Gillow, she's just got to make her way past her so she doesn't get in the way almost by accident. You make sure they stay at the back and out of the way.
This is the leading group. Number 5, Amanda Spratt. For Rock Salt Attacker, this is Justine Barrow, who is always riding a gear or 2 bigger than everybody else, but she looks like she's coping with the workload just fine.
Well, it's her team have been the ones to miss out, Brodie, because that counter-attack went. Lucy Kennedy is there for Mitchelton Scott. That could give them 3 in an eventual front group. But Barrow's teammates, nowhere to be seen in that chase.
She'll have put a lot of work in, and if this does come back together, you can imagine that a rider like Barrow won't have a lot left, particularly up against the firepower of some of those women in that group of 5.
There were 4 Rock Salt Attacker riders in that peloton before this attack happened, as they're up and over 80 kilometres an hour again as they approach that right-hand turn into the grounds of Federation University. So Rock Salt Attacker, they've missed a chance to get a free ride across, but it was not a case of a tactical mistake. They just couldn't follow the wheels on the climb when that big acceleration came.
From 80 kilometres per hour into this corner, Robbie, heavy on the brakes.
Yeah, down to about 30 kilometres an hour through there, not much more than that. Is a little bit bumpy through there, and it's been swept and it's in good condition, but you know, it's an open road. It's not an actual race circuit, and you've got to have your wits about you, pay attention all the time. Little drag uphill now for these 3.
Barrow losing just a little bit of ground through the corners each time. Not much, but you spend slightly more energy than the other 2 getting back in contact.
Well, we did see that last year, didn't we, when Gigante went on the attack, when Gillow let a gap go of about 4 lengths and it was all over.
There's no denying that a rider like Barrow, she's got a great engine, but she hasn't had that same race experience in Belgium or the Netherlands or the US as Spratt and Brown have, and she doesn't race as many crits. It's not her area of specialty. So all of those things add up to just being slightly less capable when it's going to get down to that final lap where they really, really want to put the hammer down. She will be gapped a little on some of these corners.
Unless, of course, she can ride away on the climb. Who knows?
She's looking good. Number 15, Justine Barrow. She's won out against the 2 riders from Mitchelton Scott. Inside the last 30 kilometres. Grace Brown, she picked up the silver medal in the individual time trial. Amanda Spratt was 4th in that event. Amanda Spratt was at 41 seconds behind Srah Gigante, but the top 3 were separated by just 10 seconds. Emily HERFOSS was the bronze medalist.
And Emily HERFOSS, she's someone who's been training really, really hard over the summer with her husband, Troy HERFOSS, who will line up in the men's race later on today. He made the early break a couple of years ago. Last year, he was forced to line up towards the back of the bunch, not where he wanted to start, because his bike got weighed before the start. It was 50 grams too light. He went into panic mode. I actually saw him right before the start. He said, "What do I do now?" I said, "You got a muesli bar in your pocket? Stuff it in the bar end." It's exactly what he did. Got his bike to the legal weight, but he started at the back, missed the early break, was never in it. Tried to go across later, blew himself up. But his wife, Emily HERFOSS, she'd been training with him together. They found a circuit in northern New South Wales, just south of the Gold Coast, that mimics this circuit. And they've ridden it time and time and time again.
He's got fantastic attention to detail, Troy, from his motorbike background. He's a multiple Australian superbike champion. And when you're approaching corners at almost 300 kilometres per hour, you need attention to detail.
And Emily HERFOSS, a great ride in the time trial. And she's one of the rock salt attacker riders who just wasn't quite able to follow that attacking move and get herself a free ride. It'll be interesting to see now where that group is with Srah Gigante, if they're making some sort of impression. We just spoke about those gaps opening up through the corners.
Well, the other thing about riding such a big year is it just means you're not as nimble and agile at changing direction.
There are 3 leaders. They're holding on to an advantage of more than 2 minutes. At the back, Amanda Spratt. She's a 2-time winner of this race and one of the stars of world cycling.
Winning the Australian Championship is the perfect way to start a year.
2012 is reborn here in Buninyong in 2016 for Amanda Spratt.
I think when I crossed the line there and I put my arms up in the air saluting, do a little bit of a scream of joy, just happiness, relief, excitement. It's just nice to see all that hard work pay off for myself, for my team, and the sprint finish too for me was really exciting.
Welcome back to the Federation University Road National Championships. The city of Ballarat, it's up onto Mount Buninyong. 35.5 kilometres remaining in the elite women's road race. 2-time winner Amanda Spratt is in the breakaway with last year's individual time trial champion Grace Brown, her teammate at Mitchelton Scott, and they're joined by Justine Barrow of Rock Salt Attacker. This is a breakaway that went early in the race. The peloton are at more than 2.5 minutes behind at the last official time check, but the leaders have just moments ago gone through the finish line, so we'll get the exact gap on the peloton when they go through. Specialised women's racing, they've been trying to do the chasing, but they break up on the climb, they come back together, they lose their cohesion. We're getting down to the business end of the bike race, Brodie O'Donnell. They really need to move.
We've got 23 riders in this second group, and that has sort of ebbed and flowed depending on the climb, but they've got 3 more times to go up this climb, and 3 more times through that complicated chicanes at the Federation University. So it's still going to be very interesting, but to have such a significant time gap on those 3 riders that are working really well together is going to be very interesting.
Robbie, Grace Brown at the back of the group. She's the rider who's looked to be under the most pressure each time up the climb, and the gap is starting to open.
Well, this is the moment where it looks like Amanda Spratt is starting to turn the screws. Grace Brown, she's at a few lengths. She's fighting to try and get back on that wheel, but is opening centimetre by centimetre. So Amanda Spratt has thought, this is it, 35 kilometres to go. This is the time I make sure that bunch can't catch us. Thank you, Grace, for everything you've done. I'll go out here. And it leaves me 1 more to take care of.
She's still got Justine Barrow with her. This is not a bad thing at all for Justine Barrow as the peloton comes through the finish line. Almost, they're still a few hundred metres away, and the gap is already at 2.5 minutes. By the time they get there, the gap is going to be close to 3 minutes. This is a significant gap.
You can see Gigante, last year's winner, #1 there on the left-hand side of your screen. She's absolutely itching to make an impact on this race, and it would be very frustrating for a rider like her who's really aggressive and opportunistic to be in this group.
Well, we saw her after quite a fast last lap go at the top of the climb and split things. I think this is what needs to happen. Really fast from the bottom of the climb, and the best climbers left in this group, if they want to have any impact on this race, they need to go bottom to top on this climb, try and open things up and get themselves back in contention.
Great to see Brodie Chapman having a dig there. She's obviously an incredible climber. We saw her first on the world stage, winning the Herald Sun Tier 2 years ago. She took some time off work to actually race in that event and ended up holding off the world time trial champion Annemiek van Vleuten there at South Bank in that incredible final crit.
It's 2 minutes and 52 seconds the deficit, with 3 laps remaining, 3 opportunities up Mount Buninyong. Now out in front, Amanda Spratt. She's one less support rider there with her. She doesn't have her teammate. Justine Barrow, she's not a teammate. She's still there with her. They will work together. This is an early move on the climb by Brodie Chapman. She knows she needs to make the most of this entire climb to take some time back on Spratt. But it looks as if already, Robbie, that she's gone into the red zone and is paying the price.
You know, it really is all or nothing. But on the front of that group is Srah Gigante. So she wants to also up the pace, not just pull the group across to Brodie Chapman. She looks like she's looking around waiting for someone to go.
Rachel Nayland.
Interesting to see too, Jamie Gunning in the specialised team is the most comfortable looking climber. She's moving up here in 4th wheel just behind Gigante. Monitoring everything, again, looking very smooth.
Yeah, Lucy Kennedy looks great. She's playing the perfect team role, jumping behind every single attack. She covered that last move over the top for her teammates and now just gets herself back towards the front. Keep control of this group and then just try and give them that impression that this is not going to work for you. I'm here, I've got you covered, and you can't catch Spratty. It's all this mental game that starts to get played.
She goes towards the front without going all the way to the front. Number 8, Shara Gillow. Is she about to make a move? Not quite. 47 has been impressive. That's Kirsty Deacon.
See, that's a sign that's annoying for the riders in the race. Hill climb start. You've already been climbing for over 1.5 kilometres. You turn left and then you see that sign.
Spratt looks as if she has waited for Grace Brown because there is still 3 laps to go. She's now having the conversation with the sports director. Still got a long way to go. Sure, it's almost a 3-minute lead. What do we do?
Yeah, well, I think when you get that time check, it is a bit of a no-brainer to say stick together. And you can also fill the podium, have a teammate on the podium. Why offload her when you don't need to?
They'll definitely want some feedback too from the Mitchelton Scott car about what's that group of 23 riders doing behind, how coordinated are they, how effective is it, who's riding, who's working well, where are some of the women who they would consider to be threats, and so that kind of information is going to be really valuable for Spratt and Brown.
A tactical decision by Amanda Spratt to ensure that she still has Grace Brown with her. She can afford to concede maybe 15 seconds on the climb, so she has Grace Brown for the next part of the course, descending down through into Federation Uni. Justine Barrow, number 15, at the back of the group for rock salt attacker. This is the conversation with Spratt, just letting Justine know, come past me, I'm going back to the team car, I need to talk tactics.
Just a little look over the shoulder there from Justine Barrow, like, hang on, what's going on? Don't trick me here. Oh, it's just the car. Okay, no worries.
Well, she wouldn't have the same level of experience of racing with team cars so close and the amount of communication between the riders and the team cars.
Grace Brown now back in this group and comfortable. That pace early on the climb was just a fraction too hard. It wasn't like she blew up and, you know, fell right back. She was just centimetre by centimetre going backwards. So not much of a weight to keep her in the group, and it's been a good decision.
Because this climb varies so much, and I've done this race 10 times, so that's 100 times up this bloody hill, and one of the things that's really fascinating, though, is there's an opportunity for redemption. You know, the pace changes, the pitch changes, and that can be really interesting for a rider who's having a bit of a shabby patch.
Well, David McKenzie has picked the toughest part of the climb. David, you're down there with the leaders about to come past.
I certainly am. I tell you what, it's heating up, not in temperature, but in the race. And if I cast a look back now, here you can see Amanda Spratt on the front. Ride of the day, incidentally, Justine Barrow. What a ride. That is the surprise of the day. Grace Brown looking good as well. Guys, look, I think with a gap, 2.5 minutes, it is going to be very, very difficult for the remnants of that peloton to bring them back. Amanda Spratt, we know her experience. She's so strong. She is in the box seat.
Grace Brown is number 2, sitting at the back of the group. Amanda Spratt just making sure that Grace is okay. A little bit of encouragement. Once we're over the top, Grace, we need you to work all the way until we get to the base of the climb once again. Justine Barrow, she's not intimidated by the 2 riders from Mitchelton Scott. As soon as they cross the top of the McCain's Queen of the Mountains point, she goes to the front instantaneously.
We've been talking a bit about Justine Barrow and riding the big chainring, but you've got to look at the components that she's running. So she's riding with the SRAM Axis group set. So that big chainring would be something like a 48-tooth chainring and up to a 33 on the back. And the crossover of the chain is not an issue from big to the biggest cog on the back. It's actually really efficient. So she's able to just stay in the big chain ring for nearly all of this lap, maybe with the exception of the very steep part. So it's not like she's riding a 53 something with that the new Axis group set. You've got such a massive range of gears. You can just leave it in the big chain ring.
It's still impressive.
Yes.
It's still impressive. This is Shara Gillow now at the front of the peloton.
I've got the SRAM Axis group set and I rode small chain ring.
Yeah.
So yes, it's impressive.
It is. And Kirsty Deacon in third position in the Verus colours. She's been one of the surprise packets of the race.
She was the last rider to make up that attacking group last time over the top of the climb. She looked like she was about to blow up, but as they came over the top, Gigante did a turn. The next one to go through was Deacon. She said, I'll contribute to this. I'd love to get away in this group, so there's no holding back. I like the way she rides.
There she is in third position at Shara Gillow, four-time Australian individual time trial champion who's riding a time trial up Mount Buninyong, stretching the group out. In terms of the McCain's Queen of the Mountains classification, it's Justine Barrow with the commanding lead over Grace Brown and Amanda Spratt.
So just as I predicted, it's not that important for two riders from the same team doing so well to take that jersey, but great to see that Grace has been getting the sprint points every time they cross that start-finish line.
And that is in the Langdon building. Points classification, Grace Brown is on equal points with Kate Perry, but Grace Brown is in with another opportunity to pick up some more points. This group, this time around, Robbie, it's not so much the attacking from the front, it's just that solid tempo from Shara Gillow, which is causing riders to be dropped. Yet again, though, it is the specialised team. To the left of the screen is Jamie Gunning. To the right of the screen is Taryn Hedder. Lucy Kennedy playing the role of the policewoman in the middle, discouraging anybody from making a move.
Srah Gigante just on the right of screen, number one. And it's not a case of attacking. The pace is up, but it's more that the back door is wide open on this group and riders are falling out the back of it.
And at the back in the white colours, number 7, that's Brodie Chapman. She's the rider that attacked at the base of the climb. That now, based on what we're seeing here, is a strategy to try and up the tempo and draw out everybody else to support Shara Gillow. But look at the way the pace has really backed off at the top of the climb. Chloe Hosking in the orange colours looks super comfortable this time around.
Just in the middle of this group in the fluoro green helmet, number 72 is Beck McConnell. She's been a former mountain bike national champion and was third at the Mountain Bike World Championships most recently. Her and her husband travel and race mountain bike all over the world, and it's interesting to see her here. We're not sure of her preparation. Now you can see attacking up the right-hand side there, Srah Gigante, last year's winner, just as they go up and over the top. No response just yet. Interesting, but she's absolutely been itching to get a gap on this group, obviously, with such a huge now 3 minutes to the leading three riders.
On her own, Robbie, she'd love some company.
She'd love some, and she'll need some to make any impression on that group in front. And you would think if a rider is feeling good enough at this stage of the race, thinks that they can ride across that group, that they would do it on the climb, not over the top. It dips away. It's a much faster piece of road. However, it is a tailwind through this section. But if you're going to do it, I think you need to do it on the climb, really gap the rest of this group. I think they'll be able to roll back onto her back wheel fairly handily.
Just with the strength of numbers. That was Amber Pate in the black colours, just losing contact across the top. We can see the gap now for the defending champion, Srah Gigante. And this is one of those moments where we could see Lucy Kennedy go to the front of the peloton to close it down.
And if we don't, what Srah Gigante needs is the rest to hesitate. Someone to swing across, the second rider to swing with them, and say, all right, I'm not doing the work either. And then that gap really will open up, and she's a chance. But I still don't see her crossing a 3-minute 10 gap.
Well, now is Chapman trying to put that effort into chase again, and on her wheel was Jamie Gunning from Specialised. It's an impressive attack. She's clearly got great power, and we saw her demonstrate that a couple of days ago in the time trial.
Jamie Gunning got out and looked as if she wanted to respond. You can see her in the Specialised colours on the far right-hand side of the peloton. Did she not have the legs, or did she choose not to?
I think she didn't have the legs at that point. It came around that corner. It just kicks up through that corner, and the acceleration of Gigante was just too much for the pure climber of Jamie Gunning.
And this is one of Jamie's teammates now trying to go across. This is Matilda Reynolds, who was strong again in the criterium.
great sprint ability, and she's really sprints well in so many of the Bay crits and also St Kilda, the Super Crit. She's really great domestic rider and has been working, you know, her whole season anyway in a regular job.
Well, we said it, Matt. You'd expect the bunch to roll back up to her back wheel across this section, and it is exactly what has happened. A few little counter-attacks, and that gap has melted. Gigante back in the group.
Meanwhile, at the back of the peloton, this is Holly Harris. Just in front of her, number 14, that's Peter Mullens. She's won just about everything in Australian cycling, on the track, on the road and on the dirt. Plus, she's, as a junior, she's won plenty of endurance running events.
Her and her partner are also keen renovators.
Yes.
They're like a good fixer-upper.
They're house flippers.
They are house flippers. They should go on the block.
Maybe David McKenzie should fly them across to his villa in Spain.
Oh, yes.
Rebuilding.
Casa McKenzie. And Ruby Rose Mingannon, 4th last, now 5th last from the back in the black colours. She's been fantastic. I know it's only the 12th of January, but she has been one of the stars of 2020, sprinting incredibly well in every criterium she starts.
We heard from Stu, the director there of the Sunshine Coast team, talking about how he knew that she would be a marked rider by some of these professional women, that he wanted her to race not just for the under-23 championships, but to really mix it with the elite contenders and put herself, and she's doing herself a lot of favours by really remaining in contact with this group, which is fantastic for Ruby.
Well, it's the specialised team. They are still contributing to the work on the front. It's Matilda Reynolds now. So we've seen a number of different riders from that team try and up the pace and narrow this gap down, but it's gone from around 2 minutes out to 3, back a little bit, then back out again, but always growing. So it's a case of 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
And always in 3rd or 4th position, Lucy Kennedy from the Mitchelton Scott team. It looks like an individual sport, cycling, but here is evidence of it being a team sport from somebody who's not in the breakaway, but she is having a huge influence on the success of her teammates in the breakaway by the work that she's doing or not doing in the peloton.
Perfect teamwork, and people who are new to cycling are watching this say, well, how is she contributing? She's not doing anything. Well, that's part of the point. But a lot of it's psychological, but also just containing these breaks. When a counter-attack goes, she puts herself in it. All those other riders that are there, they then know, well, she's just going to sit on the wheels and we'll be giving her a free ride, and that plays on the mind. So it's a big psychological game you're playing as a teammate back in the peloton. You're not physically getting in the way and making them go slower, but you do get on their nerves if you're good at it.
And the intel you provide is really valuable too. Obviously, we're not at a stage yet where we have TV cameras inside race cars, so the directors need to have an understanding of what's going on. Information gets shared. If they can go back to her to give her a feed, then they can say, how are you feeling? What are the next steps? What do we need to understand then?
Making their way into Federation University. They've been great supporters of this race for the last couple of years, and this year on Wednesday for the first time they had the individual time trial start and finish in Federation University. As the peloton have made their way into the university, the 3 leaders are on their way out. It is the first year students and these are the graduates. Grace Brown at the front, and this is why they waited, or certainly why Amanda Spratt waited. So this part of the course, Grace Brown can do the pacemaking, and I'm fairly confident that if she gets dropped the next time up the climb, Amanda Spratt won't wait. She won't need to wait.
Yeah, 2 more climbs to go. So once they make it through Federation Uni, they'll cross that start-finish line and have 2 complete laps to go. Absolutely, she needs to add the value that she can now and hang on as long as she can, even for that first initial part of the climb up Mount Bonignong. And then I think Amanda will go with those 2 climbs to go and see how good Justine is holding her wheel.
Justine Barrow just getting some instructions from the team car. She'll be hearing what the time gap is.
Now, Robbie, you've been in the team car with Luke Durbridge when he won the road race.
Oh, you've got to be careful what you say to Durbo.
Yeah, and he gave you some advice in return when you told him some of the simple things like keep eating, keep drinking. What would you say to Justine?
I would say keep doing what you're doing, stay relaxed, and of course, keep eating and drinking. It's not a hot day, hydration's not a big issue, but in the heat of battle, when you've been in the break for this long, you've just got to make sure you're doing all the little things right, because when it comes down to that final lap, and she's almost, you would think, assured of at least a silver medal, assuming Amanda Spratt would get the better of her. Grace Brown is doing a lot of the work. If you're already assured you think of a silver, you've got to do everything you possibly can to try and win that gold medal. And that's doing all the little things right to put yourself in a position to be able to try to make an attack, offload Amanda Spratt. Who knows?
I think for a rider like Barrow, though, it'd be really important to not be thinking about the finish right now, because that's a really great way to get fourth. And you know, to crash on a final corner or to lose concentration, have someone get away, and then have a really motivated rider on the final lap attack and chase you down. And we've seen that happen on this course before, when people get fatigued and if they haven't done enough. Now, she looks the same amount of comfortable as she was a couple of laps ago, but you just can't tell.
The advantage that she does have is she has no pressure. The pressure is on Mitchelton Scott, and the pressure is in particularly on Amanda Spratt, because Grace Brown, number 2, she's been on the front now for a long time. She is emptying the tank to the bottom of the climb, and I'm sure that within these next 2 laps, Amanda Spratt will try to go solo. Justine Barrow, that's the first task she has to deal with. How do I cope with Amanda Spratt on this climb?
Well, can she go with it? That is the big question. She's been doing plenty of work. She's been doing at least her share in this group. And you wouldn't hold it against her in a group like this if she just said, you know what, you two are from the favoured team. You've got Amanda Spratt, one of their very best in the world. I'm just going to sit in third wheel and enjoy a free ride.
And we've seen Drapac win a national championship that way, coming into a finish, you know, with professional riders that had far more experience. And he said, hey, this is your race to lose, and ended up out sprinting them. And that was a great performance.
Yeah, Peter McDonald found himself up against Adam Hansen and Michael Rogers, both with HTC High Road, the biggest team in the world at that time, and he got the better of them, and nobody expected him to do it. Justine Barrow.
One person did. He himself.
You think?
I think he did back himself in a sprint, because I've known Peter McDonald for a long time through the ranks racing here in Australia, and he's got a pretty handy finish on him. Brown short on confidence.
Brown will have just consolidated her lead in the sprint points now. So, you know, that's another win for Mitchelton. They'll get another jersey on the podium for her, regardless of how she finishes the race today. So really good and strong riding by her. So 2 more times up this climb, and it's absolutely important now for Brown to ride her heart out, to keep that pace high, to keep things confident for Spratt, but probably just to also keep Barrow slightly under pressure, so her likelihood of attacking is reduced.
I'm just looking at Grace Brown. Like, she's been on the front for the last 5 kilometres or so, out of the saddle, re-accelerating, really going quite quick in the lower slope of this climb at the moment. So I wonder if this is empty the tank, open the gap as big as possible. 3:39 at the moment is the time check. Some attacking behind, though.
This is Rachel Nayland who is attacking. Matilda Reynolds tries to respond. A little bit of indecision within the peloton. Number 1, Srah Gigante is caught on the inside, so heavily marked.
This is possibly racing for a bronze medal, maybe, if Grace Brown completely explodes. It's become very tactical back here. It's no longer the strongest going on the climb. They're choosing all different...
The move at the front, so Grace Brown, her job is done. It's now Amanda Spratt who opens up the throttle. A little check across the shoulder to check on the whereabouts of Justine Barrow, and she is there, and she's on that big gear, and the hips are rocking and rolling.
It's almost twice the cadence that Spratt is spinning, you know, over Barrow. It's really amazing. And her ability to jump and change pace when that climb gets steeper in another 300 metres will be much more impressive, I think, than Barrow's.
What is impressive about this is Spratt has gone from behind, so she's had the element of surprise, and Barrow has had the legs to respond.
Yep, straight out of the seat and immediately onto the wheel. So that is a really good acceleration from Barrow. So that is a very good sign. She was looking decidedly uncomfortable, but I think anybody would be when someone like Amanda Spratt attacks. Spratt, she's wound the pace back now.
And for Justine Barrow at this point, Robbie, Grace Brown is not surrendering. But
she's riding for bronze.
But for Justine Barrow, what does she do now?
Just stick to the wheel now. She said, all right, you've laid your cards on the table. You've used Grace Brown. You've attacked me from behind my back. Now I sit. They've got such a big gap. 3-4.
Spratt goes again. Justine Barrow, she digs deep. Spratt with the element of surprise. Barrow with the answer.
What's been really impressive about Barrow and her season that she's had so far in the National Road Series is that she's an older rider. She's not 20 years old, so she's got a lot of maturity and confidence, and she trains really hard. So she knows her ability. She'd be knowing how she feels and what she's capable of, and that, as you said earlier, there's no pressure on her. She's on the wheel of the 2-time champion, silver medalist at the World Championship, 3-time Tour Down Under winner. So this is Amanda's race to lose.
This is the peloton coming down through the final few hundred metres And about to get 2 laps to go. This is what is left. Chloe Hosking in the orange. She rolls through to the front. This really is riding for 4th place. I don't see them even catching Grace Brown with 2 more laps to go. She'd really have to explode to not hang on to bronze.
I think they could catch Grace Brown.
Yeah, I think she could switch off. She's going to have a sprinter's jersey, and you can imagine now mentally she'll think, well, my task is done. And I think that, but there's been such a lack of coordination in this group that it's hard to believe they could make up 3 minutes 40 in 20k.
I hope she fights for the bronze. I'd like to see her hang on. She really does deserve it. Here at the front, Barrow goes back through to the front, and the pace comes off just a little bit, and she'll wait for another attack from Spratt. Maybe the next one will come on the steep section towards the top of the McCain KOM.
What's interesting too about Spratt's position is that she probably doesn't know Barrow very well at all. She may not know her capability or the style of rider, or whether or not she's won up Mount Hotham at the Tour of Bright or not.
She's done her homework. Amanda Spratt has done her homework. She said that over the last couple of weeks, she's been looking at the results from the National Road Series. She's looked at results from the Tour of Bright. She knows who she needs to watch. And Justine Barrow is aware of the imminent attack from Amanda Spratt. They make the left-hand turn onto Mount Buninyong. It flattens out ever so slightly here. You can try and recuperate and get ready for the assault.
Yeah, little dip down through this section, build a little bit of momentum, and then it starts to drag false flat at first, gets steeper and steeper, and then the hardest part of the climb, always the top, is when it starts to really burn, and that is the steeper section of this climb at around 10% gradient. Amanda Spratt has started something. When she starts something, she likes to finish that thing. She's attacked twice. I am expecting another one.
I think also the other impressive thing that Spratt has over Barrow is that through those chicanes of Federation Uni, that will be where she'll be able to distance her with greater cornering ability and a little bit more explosive power. So I think she might test that out when they get down through with sort of 13, 14 kilometres to go, just to see how she goes.
And Spratt has put herself, Robbie, into an attacking position.
She has just tucked herself just to the side of the wheel. There's that little breeze coming from the right-hand side. Barrow, she swings across. You go to the front, you know you want to attack me, and she'll want to keep her eye on her. And I would advise Barrow just to sit behind over the top of this climb.
I think now Justine Barrow is in the ideal position. Stay behind Amanda Spratt. Don't give Spratt the opportunity to try and catch you by surprise and even open up a 1 bike length gap. But Justine Barrow is not intimidated by Amanda Spratt. She is happy to go toe-to-toe.
Short turns of pace, maybe a little bit of a truce between these two. 2 big attacks by Spratt. Maybe she thinks to herself, I can't get rid of her yet. I'll try again next lap. You never know with Amanda Spratt. She's a great tactician and a very aggressive rider. I just wonder if Barrow maybe has an attack of her own up her sleeve. She'll soak up what Spratt's got. Never know, it could be her laying the smack down the last time over the climb.
She's in the drops. She is ready to respond to any move or make one herself. She starts to stretch the legs, and one way to prevent Amanda Spratt from attacking you is to attack her. And in fact, it is Justine Barrow who is doing all she can to put Amanda Spratt under pressure. Let's get down to David McKenzie.
I'll tell you what, I have got the best seat in the house, guys. I look down once again, and excuse me, I've got to turn around and watch. Justine Barrow is just launching the attack now on Amanda Spratt. Who would have thought? I said the lap before, ride of the day. This is beyond that. This is super impressive. Second last time up the climb. Let's take a look now. Barrow on the front. Spratt side by side almost as they pass me here. So Barrow, she is producing the goods today. This is super impressive. The question now is, can Grace Brown, I heard you guys before, can she hang on for the bronze, or will that remnants of the peloton be able to catch her?
Well, that is a battle further back down the road, but the real race is out in front. This is for the coveted green and gold jersey, and Justine Barrow is doing all she can to provide the upset.
Well, they're going toe-to-toe and blow for blow. They're very evenly matched as they go over the top of the McCain KOM. Here's Grace Brown, and the gap, I would think at around 20 seconds or so, she'll hang on for bronze.
Well, she hasn't exploded, that's for sure. She's maintained composure.
Don't discount these two starting to look at each other, take the pressure off a bit, and Grace Brown sneaking up from behind.
Second in the time trial this year, the winner of the time trial last year.
She could still get back on.
Two riders off the front, Amanda Spratt. Alongside her is Justine Barrow. They've got more than 4 minutes their advantage over the peloton. Stuck in the middle is Grace Brown.
Crossing the line first was unbelievable. Honestly, I couldn't believe that it had just happened, and all that hard work that I'd done over the last 5 years had paid off, and I'd ticked off this massive goal of mine, so it was an absolute honour to be able to win nationals. Wearing the green and gold for an entire year is a dream come true, but also wearing the green and gold bands for the rest of my career, it makes me really happy.
This is on the climb up Mount Buninyong. The defending champion, Srah Gigante, has launched an attack. Jamie Gunning is trying to respond, and we are joined by the 2018 Australian Road Champion, Shannon Molseed. Shannon, watching that little vignette of you winning in 2018, I got goosebumps. What about you?
Oh, it makes me pretty emotional right now, actually, sitting here watching the girls race around while I'm commentating with you guys, but it was such an amazing moment, and yeah, still proud of it today every time I see it.
Shannon's not able to race at this year's National Championships because a week ago she had a fall, unfortunately, at the Bay Crits where you fractured your scapula.
Yeah, you never expect that it's going to happen to you, but then it does, and you've just got to get up and get the recovery process going, so that's what I'm doing now.
We've got two leaders, Amanda Spratt, and with her is Justine Barrow. The underdog for the last couple of years has won. You were the underdog in 2018. Last year it was Srah Gigante. Can it be a hat-trick for the underdog?
Oh, look, I think every Aussie loves a good underdog. So we're rooting for Spratty as we always do, but Justine's still got a chance, and as long as she's there with her, she has a chance, and I think she'll fight to the end.
When you look at the way this race has panned out, I'm really interested to know about what you were thinking about, you know, this final lap and a half of a race like this, where in your case it was a bit of a bigger group and it was a hotter day, but you know, you're still stressed about what's to come, but you're trying to start feeling confident. Tell us a little bit about your mindset when there's 15, 16k to go.
I think the amazing thing is when you're on a good day, you can often reflect back and you think, oh, I wasn't thinking too much actually. I was just in the race, and I was having a really good day, and I knew I had the legs to win. I had that confidence, and I think you guys can relate to that too. When you know you're good, and you just feel it. So not much goes on in the head. It's just you're totally in the race and focused.
It's a state of flow, huh?
One of the great sprinters, John Popple, said that in an interview. He was asked the question of what was going through your mind in the final kilometre for a sprint. He said, when the form was good, nothing. When the form was bad, everything.
Yeah, you're thinking, why won't she do a turn? What's happening next? Why is this going to happen?
When you're good, you just do it.
Yeah, that's right.
Shannon, what's your take from early in the race? Amanda Spratt, pre-race favourite, huge favourite, goes up the road with a teammate and with Justine Barrow. Do you think there wasn't enough panic in the rest of the bunch?
Oh, look, it's very hard to say sitting from the couch of how hard that attack was and whether people panicked or not. But I think what we've seen here today with Mitchelton Scott just displaying a different tactic this year. They had to change it up. They've been doing a similar thing most years with an early break up the road and having to bring it back later on. And this year they've obviously sat down and gone, well, that's not working. We're going to have to do something early. And so far it's definitely paid off.
Back in the peloton, they're almost 5 minutes behind. Srah Gigante, last year's winner, she's been reeled back in. There's now another counter-attack, and it's one of the teammates of Justine Barrow from Rock Salt Attacker. So that tells me, Robbie, that they are racing for a bronze medal. They're convinced that the two leaders won't be caught.
They're completely comfortable with the gap that the leaders have, that they will not be making much of an impression, certainly not catching them. So it's time for those fresher legs who've been sitting on all day, just sitting in this bunch, watching things play out. They can start to have a go. Another counter-attack coming, and that's going to get shut down. This is Grace Brown.
Former teammate of yours, Grace Brown. Can she hold on for bronze?
Oh, I'd love to see Grace hold on. She did so much work today. She's really not that far behind them. And, I mean, if those two out the front start playing, I wouldn't discount Grace for a win. She's got a very strong kick on her too. We know her time trialling capabilities, so I'd be careful if I was Justine.
Yeah, they can't afford to muck around, and with Grace being such a strong time trialer, she will have now sort of moved back into a more comfortable or sustainable pace for her that was different from the pace she needed to have for Spratty on the climb. So she'll be able to settle in, and with only 14k to go, she's absolutely tough enough to really keep the pace on.
I think we'll see 3 riders get the bell for the final lap. There's the gap. We zoom out from the heli. There are our 2 leaders, top of screen, and Grace Brown, she's closing in. They got that downhill section. I think she'll get herself back on just in time to hear the bell.
She is on her way back, and we saw last year in the men's race, Michael Freeberg, he was dropped second last time up the climb, last time up the climb, he rejoined and he won. The gold medal is not out of the question now for Grace Brown. Amanda Spratt, though, she is sure to launch some big attacks the final time up the climb. And for Justine Barrow, if she wants gold, she has to attack.
Yeah, I think Grace would be lucky to get back on at this stage, and if she does, there's definitely going to be fireworks, so she'll be lucky to stay on. But I really hope to see Justine just absolutely give it to Spratt up this climb, because we love a good fight, and I really hope she fights for the win and doesn't settle for second. It'd be a good fight up that last climb.
I think it will be, because we saw the last time up the climb, Spratt attacked twice on the highway section of the climb, got towards the top, and Barrow said, well, I've got one for you, can you follow this? So I'm looking forward to a great battle as well.
This has been extraordinary performance by Barrow. You know, as we know, world-class rider in Spratt with incredible performances over the last 2 years, so really impressed by her.
And Barrow got her wits about her. You just sort of take a look over the shoulder to check on the whereabouts of Grace Brown. So she doesn't want to get surprised and have to chase something. A possible attack by Grace Brown down the hill through the finish line, have to chase her onto the climb and then open herself up to an attack by Amanda Spratt.
Shannon, if you could get into the team car and give Justine Barrow some advice, what would it be?
Get rid of her.
How?
She needs to go on the climb. We've seen her struggling a little bit through the uni. Amanda's got incredible technical skills and Justine's lacking a little bit there, so I think she really needs to get rid of her on the climb in order to stay away to the final.
So, Robbie, with that on mind, should we have Justine Barrow at this point say, OK, I'm not fussed about getting caught by Grace Brown, and sit on, recuperate on this portion of the course to throw it all in on the climb?
If I was her director, I would say sit back, do as little as possible, keep a really close eye on the 2 of them. Don't let one go on the attack that you need to chase her to give the advantage to the other teammate. Just keep an eye, but sit in. Don't do big turns, so I wouldn't have her doing this. I'd have her just stay in Spratt's wheel, wait for Grace to come back, save everything for the top of the climb, and after they take that left-hand turn and line up towards the steeper section at the top, all or nothing.
Well, they're coming down towards the belt. They're just inside the last 500 metres before they get the belt. Shannon, before we let you go, any final predictions on what we'll see on this final lap?
I think Justine will attack, Spratty will attack. I'm thinking that Spratty's going to be able to hang on for this win. I can't see Justine outsmarting such an incredible, talented rider like Amanda Spratt. And, go all the way, girls.
They're about to get the belt. It's Justine Barrow on the front. Amanda Spratt, she's won the title twice. She's in with a big chance to make it 3 times. Shannon, thanks for your time. All the best with the recovery, and we hope that you have a fantastic 2020.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Shannon Malsey, the winner of the National Road title in 2018. It was an unfortunate start to the season, but she'll be back bigger and better than ever.
Absolutely. And I've got to say, I was wrong. It was only 2 riders that took the belt. Grace Brown has not been able to get across to these 2. And I'd put it more down to the work being done by Justine Barrow. She obviously doesn't want Brown back with them before they start the climb. She's almost back on, but didn't quite get on through the finish line. I think this puts Barrow in a better position, not having her there in that section through the finish at the bottom of the climb.
This chase for Grace Brown, though, getting almost on, gives her just about a stranglehold on the bronze medal.
Well, it does, but also what I think might happen is if these 2 riders attack each other, 2 at the front, she'll pick up the rider that misses out, you know, because they will have put in everything. It's a do or die attack over this top of this next climb for both those two riders.
It's not over. She's got so much fight. She's working her way past the cars. Justine Barrow is setting the tempo at the front. And Amanda Spratt, last time through this section, she did launch a couple of attacks, but she did not have the zip to get away from number 15, Justine Barrow.
We know Mitchelton came to this race feeling frustrated by missed opportunities over the last few years with what we consider to be outsiders winning the race, and so they've absolutely put themselves in the best position. And if Brown can make contact again, that will be, you know, 2 against 1, and really it'll be their jersey to lose.
I think that's about as close as Grace is going to get, because Amanda Spratt has gone through now. Just increased that tempo a little bit.
The cars got out of the way. Now she wishes the cars were still there. They're the stepping stone back to the breakaway.
So Spratt just checking the whereabouts of her teammate Grace Brown. Swings away from the front. Just having a look, but I think she can't afford to try and sit up and wait for Grace Brown to get too tricky about trying to go 1-2 and dominate the top of the podium. She's got to ride the race to win it.
No,
Same
she
goes
can't.
for Justine Barrow. She can't. Can't afford to take her eye off the ball here, and I think she's got to set herself up for an attack near the top.
Yeah, Amanda Spratt can't try and get cute and worry about Grace Brown. She's just got to focus on getting that win and winning the title for the 3rd time. Plenty of encouragement, though, for Grace Brown. The spectators on the side of the road, they know the sacrifices that she's made today for this woman, Amanda Spratt. Justine Barrow still riding that gear that is 1 or 2 bigger than everybody else in the race, but it is working for her.
Well, for 5 to 6 laps now, she's looked like she's labouring, but she's doing it every single lap and looking great. And what really impressed me last lap through was she went through and made her own attack towards the top of the climb on the hardest section, had Amanda Spratt under real pressure.
And she goes to the front once again, and this is a turn into the screws. This isn't just a tempo to keep Grace Brown at bay. This is one to see whether Amanda Spratt is vulnerable.
This is where she needs to get as close to the left edge of the road as she can. Not give Amanda Spratt that sort of sit in this little crosswind from the right. So if you're going to put her under pressure, get right on that edge. Give her no slipstream whatsoever to work
Spratt's shown herself to really be positioned smart, you know, throughout the chicanes, through the finish line, and probably that's where Barrow might have put in a bit of extra energy too.
And that's what Spratt is doing. Spratt's got more race experience. She's closer to the left-hand gutter than what Justine Barrow was. But even so, Spratt is still giving Justine a bit of protection from the wind, which is coming from the right-hand side.
Yep, giving her some room now. So it looks like they're both sort of saving everything towards the top of the climb, waiting for that last steep section. I think even if Justine Barrow was able to gap Amanda Spratt over the top, I think Spratt would be able to ride her way back on time trial style for 4th in the national time trial title.
And it's not over for Grace Brown. She can make contact. If this is still the gap at the top of the climb, Grace Brown can return to the leaders, and Grace Brown can win the gold medal.
Shades of Michael Freeberg last year. He did exactly the same. He was dropped by Meyer and Harper, came back, smashed over the top of them. That was it. National Champions jersey for the whole of 2019.
Her tenacity has been enormous. The job that she did for Spratt, you'd be forgiven for thinking that she was cooked and was going to explode. She has not given up. Justine Barrow at the front, followed by Amanda Spratt. They make the left-hand turn for the final time onto Mount Buninyong. This is the little pause before the climb really starts.
A couple of years ago at the Club Team Time Trial Championships for our club, St Kilda, I rode with Grace Brown. We had another rider with us. We dropped her in about the first kilometre of the team time trial. So it was just me trying to hold the wheel of Grace Brown for 26 kilometres, and it was tough work. So she won us both a gold medal. It was fantastic.
This is smart by Justine Barrow, moving hard into the left-hand gutter, Robbie.
Yep, still giving just enough room to Amanda Spratt, and she doesn't need much room to find herself a sit. Amanda Spratt, great experience, and look at the gap here to Grace Brown. She's just ridden the hardest tempo she could manage, but smooth, no acceleration, just steady state all the way. If these two start to attack on the steep section, it'll open up, but she's definitely not out of this.
5.5 minutes now back to that group, which is extraordinary. That to see that they haven't been able to organise themselves. It's a bit of a loss now for Specialised, a team that's really missed out on this opportunity today. A loss for Rally. Chloe Hosking, a loss for Rachel Nayland in her new team as well. It'll be frustrating for them.
This is a group that's just riding to fill the top 10 now, to get the best out of what's left. They've realised now for over a lap they are not going to win medals in this Australian Championship.
But the real race is almost at the top of the climb, so they've just gone through to get the bell, and the leaders are almost at the top of Mount Buninyong. Justine Barrow is the rider at the front, setting the tempo for Rock Salt Attacker. Mitchelton Scott with the colours of Amanda Spratt in second position. This is Grace Brown. She's still at just 10 seconds behind. If she stays at 15 seconds at the top of the climb, she's a big chance.
And that's bad news for Justine Barrow, because I think then, on paper, the two Mitchelton Scott riders are faster in a sprint. They would take 1 and 2. So Barrow, she'd, I think, at least like to assure herself of silver, but I think she's got to just give it absolutely everything and try and win this championship. If she ends up third, so be it. Try and win it. Really give it everything.
I love Shannon's comment, you know, just get rid of her. Do whatever you can, get rid of her.
And this is the moment. They're almost on the final few hundred metres, the steep pinch, and it's Justine Barrow who is at the front, trying to stretch the legs of Amanda Spratt. This is the attack by Justine Barrow, but it is Spratt who has the answers, and it's Spratt who goes over the top. Barrow takes a look. She's digging deep to try and get to her. David McKenzie, it is crunch time.
It is crunch time, absolutely. Amanda Spratt, she's tried to go, but Barrow has been able to mark her. No matter what happens today, Justine Barrow is the revelation. She's on the wheel of Amanda Spratt as they go across the top. They are going to stay together. Grace Brown, I can see her about 200 metres behind now. She is still in this bike race, and as you pointed out earlier, Matthew Keenan, she can still win this bike race. It's not a done deal just yet.
And here she comes just behind you, David McKenzie. She's only a matter of 15 seconds away.
Yeah, she certainly is. And look, she's still composed. She's pedalling a good gear. She's in the highest possible gear, though, so she's got her cadence up. She will settle in. Remember, she did a fantastic time trial a few days ago. That is exactly what she needs to do down the other side, back to the village.
Completely different rhythm to Justine Barrow as Spratt attacks over the top.
Well, this is the last gasp attack for Amanda Spratt to just see if she could maybe offload Barrow over the top of the climb. They're up onto that flat section. The question is now, what does Amanda Spratt do? Does she try and keep it smooth working together all the way in, back herself in the sprint, or does she start to back it off, try and put the pressure on Barrow to stay away from Grace Brown, risk Brown coming back? This race is still far from over. The gap opened up. It's out over 31 seconds to Brown, but a lot still to happen.
Spratt and Barrow out in front, Brown still in contention. Welcome back to the Federation University Road National Championships. The city of Ballarat hosting these national championships in Buninyong. 35 seconds is the advantage for the two leaders, Justine Barrow in the colours of Rock Salt Attacker, followed by Amanda Spratt. The rider who is at 35 seconds behind is Grace Brown, one of the teammates of Amanda Spratt. Robbie McEwen, Brodie O'Donnell, the upset for the last 2 years. We've seen the underdog get the win, Srah Gigante and Shannon Mulseed. Can Barrow make it 3 in a row?
She's certainly given herself every chance, hasn't she? She's ridden aggressively, confidently. She's done her fair share. Can't be accused of trying to shirk any work. But I have to say, I'm not a betting woman, but I think that Brodie has shown and demonstrated extraordinary capability to win this race.
I'm not going to say that Justine Barrow can't win, but it's almost a case of Amanda Spratt can hardly lose this now.
Yeah, Amanda Spratt is not just Australia's premier road cyclist. She is one of the world's best road cyclists. For the last 2 years, she's been on the podium at the Giro Rosa, which is the premier tour in women's cycling. She's been bronze medalist and silver medalist at the World Championships, and she's one of the favourites for gold in the road race at the Tokyo Olympics. She is the benchmark for Australian cycling and for many world cycling.
And she realises all of that, being in this position, and she will take no chances, and she'll take nothing for granted until she crosses that line. So she'll just be making sure she's ever professional, doing all the right things to make sure she wins this national championship. They've done it all perfectly so far as a team. 2 in the break of 3. This woman, Grace Brown, has done a power of work to help them open up that gap. She'll ride in to get the bronze medal. But never call it too soon, because if they start to look at each other in front, start to swing across the road, freewheeling, Grace Brown could do a Michael Freeberg and sneak up and attack from behind and take it.
What I love about Barrow's ride as well is it represents everything about what's great of the National Road Series. That for a lot of these riders, it gives them an opportunity to win races, win stages of tours, to get some confidence. Rock Salt Attack are a team that have gone overseas and done some racing in Belgium, and they've got great riders on that squad like Peter Mullens, who won everything. So Barrow's had a lot of great people to learn from and a lot of race experience. So even though this is a rider of Spratt's calibre, she's still just in another bike race in Australia doing her best, and that's a beautiful thing too.
In addition to her class and her physical capability as an athlete, Amanda Spratt, she is tough. We're all familiar with the 7 Up series, which is based on the premise that show me the child at 7 and I'll show you the adult. Amanda Spratt, as a 9-year-old, was BMX racing. She had a crash in the warm-up. She spent the whole day racing, and at the end of the day she told Mum and Dad that her thumb's a little sore. They took her off to hospital to get an x-ray. She had a broken thumb. She spent the whole day as a 9-year-old racing with a broken thumb. Most 9-year-olds that break their thumb are in tears asking for sympathy. Not Amanda Spratt. She didn't want to tell Mum and Dad in case it meant she didn't get to race her BMX.
Yeah, well, racing BMX beats sitting in hospital waiting rooms, that's for certain. But you've got to be tough to do it.
The main peloton, they're at some 6 minutes and 40 seconds behind. They're racing for 4th place. The good news for Grace Brown, she's still closing in on the 2 leaders. She's at the very least going to secure herself a spot on the podium with the bronze medal. She's had bronze before, she's been on the podium. Get the impression she wants a little more than that. She'll take a few risks through the corners. This is Durbridge Corner.
She'll almost be able to see them. They're just out of sight at the moment. She'll be able to maybe see the back of the convoy up the road. And she'll know it's a certain bronze medal, and she knows that Amanda Spratt, the team leader, is in perfect position. I wonder how big the motivation is now with the gap at 26 seconds and closing. Is she going to give it everything she's got to see if she can maybe spring a surprise? There they are around the corner, and here comes Grace Brown.
The upside about being in this position for Brown is that there's no psychological stress. You're just riding your heart out. You're not having to watch out for anyone else or gameplay or wonder when you should attack. You're just riding full gas to try and catch them.
This is so similar to the position last year for Michael Freeberg. At the same point, he was gone, and we were talking about Freeberg should get bronze. Freeberg got gold.
At this point, he was around 18 to 20 seconds behind the leaders of Harper and Meyer, and made his way back and hit them just inside 1 kilometre to go. That is the gap on the road, 25 seconds, but it's only around 250, 300 metres.
And that's the key. She does not need the stopwatch. She can visually see the target. She can chase and close in on Spratt and Barrow. And Spratt at the front is working.
She doesn't want a surprise, whether it be from a teammate or not. She wants to control the situation. She knows she's in the perfect situation for her. Takes a look back, sees where Grace Brown is. She's not riding against her, but she's ridden this national championship to win it. She wants to close the deal.
She's been in this position before. She came into the finish with Ruth Corset exactly like this, just the 2 of them together, and ended up kicking to the finish line with about 50 metres to go.
She's playing the percentages.
And Justine Barrow would rather win silver than bronze.
And it's Justine Barrow who is at the front as Amanda Spratt is taking the look over the shoulder, and that clock continues to get the haircut. It's down to 22 seconds, 22, 23 seconds. Justine Barrow is not out of it. There's the Spratt family nervously watching.
Well, Justine Barrow, I think she needs to try and force Amanda Spratt to the front. Spratt won't want to.
No.
She'll be adamant, I am not coming through anymore until it's time to push my wheel across the line in first.
She has the advantage of the teammate chasing. She can say to Justine Barrow, it's your job to work. I've got a teammate coming from behind. We can go 1-2.
There'll be a bit of a headwind into this finishing straight too, so the timing of coming out from behind that wheel will be absolutely important. And we know that Barrow is very strong, so there's no reason for Spratt to relax. She's got to absolutely pay attention as these last 600-700 metres come past.
So difficult to control this sprint from the front for Justine Barrow.
It is coming into a headwind, slightly downhill, that false flat as they come into the finishing straight. She's got who she knows is a faster finisher in Amanda Spratt right in her wheel. And Spratt, we've seen her take a couple of nervous looks over the shoulder just to assess where her teammate Grace Brown is. Now getting herself into the right gear, backing off the wheel just a little bit. Another check over the shoulder. She's doing everything right thus far. She'll wait for Barrow to make the acceleration. Or get to a point where she said, I can jump from here and take it.
The Federation University Arch, that's 500 metres. Grace Brown, surely she can't come back from there. It's Justine Barrow who leads out. Spratt is waiting to pounce. She looks so calm. She's giving a little bit of distance. Barrow with her head on a swivel. Spratt opens up. Barrow tries to respond. Amanda Spratt is making it Australian Road Championship title at number 3. This is a convincing win by Spratt. Pre-race favourite, and she has delivered. It is Super Spratt who wins brilliantly in Buninyong. Barrow in seconds.
Oh, she is pumped. This is wonderful. So emotional.
Medals at World Championships. The tears tell the story. A bronze medal for Brown.
Well, a fantastic race by the Mitchelton Scott team. Greeted by all the entourage down there at the finish line. Amanda Spratt in tears. So much stress throughout the day, carrying the weight of the race and expectation. And that's what it's all about.
And Justine Barrow, the shake of the hands. Mum and Dad are on hand. They've been there quite obviously for the whole journey, but it is a family affair for the Spratts in cycling. You can see that tear rolling down the cheek of Amanda Spratt. Joy, relief. It is a beautiful moment.
No, she didn't take anything for granted coming into the finish either. You saw it laying off, choosing the gear, looking over the shoulder, looking for that marker where she thought she could go. And interestingly, in the sprint, not looking back one single time. She gave it everything she had all the way to the finish line. Only then did she take a hand off the bars and freewheel and punch the air. She'd already crossed the line. She wanted to make sure of that one.
The body language of Amanda Spratt really is telling the story. Grace Brown is there as well. She played a huge role in setting up the victory. Mitchelton Scott was the team that had all the pressure on them. They put 2 of their pre-race favourites into the breakaway and they dominated this race. This is the moment where Spratt clinched the deal.
Well, Justine Barrow, she looking over the shoulder, as soon as she looks back, that's when Amanda Spratt launches, catches her by surprise, gets a length for free, but just much more powerful in the sprint. This is something we did expect when it came down to a sprint between these two. Barrow, she's been a worthy adversary all day for Amanda Spratt, particularly on the climbs. But Amanda Spratt, she just opened that gap all the way through, only punching the air once she'd crossed the line. And I'm sure that was also not just the excitement, but a massive sense of relief for winning the title as a favourite.
To win now 3 times, every Olympic year she's been winning, and it bodes very well for Tokyo. It's not a selection event, but the national team head coach and selector Donna Zielinski was talking about the value of this race. It's in the window of selection time, and she's absolutely one of our, not just the best rider we have in the country at the moment, but one of the best in the world.
And this course is a great benchmark for selecting an Olympic team because the course in Tokyo is very, very difficult indeed, suited to the climbers.
She's already been to Tokyo to take a look, and she's already factored in the humidity, and she's been doing ergo sessions in the bathroom with the heater on to get ready for the humidity in Tokyo. Let's for a moment talk about Justine Barrow. Today, she won silver.
Absolutely won it. She was brilliant.
Let's go down to the winner, Amanda Spratt, who's with Mike Tomalaris.
Amanda Spratt, victory number 3. You're the national champion for the 3rd time. And judging by the expression when you cross that finish line, it's just as special, I would imagine, the 3rd time around as it was the 1st time around.
It's just as special, if not more special. I owe my team this one. They rode incredibly well. You saw how much work Grace Brown did in that break. And, yeah, unusual, but I did come in here as just the sole leader for our team. So came with a lot of pressure as well, and I'm just so grateful for the team for giving me the opportunity, and I could pull it off, and I'm so happy.
Amanda, were you surprised that the chasers didn't follow? You led with the 2 others from a very early part of the race. Were you surprised that you were allowed to stay away?
Yeah, I don't know if it was being allowed to or that Grace Brown attacked on that climb, and that was the plan, to open it up really, really early, because we didn't think anyone would expect that. Normally there's an early break, and she was so strong that it was just her and I away, and then Justine came across on the climb. She had an incredible ride, Justine, as well. I really have to mention her. Very impressive. So, yeah, after that we knew we had a really good group and just keep the pace going.
Could you sense the body language or look at the body language of Justine Barrow, and did you feel confident all the way?
I felt confident if it came down to a sprint. Of course, I tried on the climb as well, but I was very, very impressed with Justine. I think she had an incredible ride. Yeah, very, very impressed, and she was matching me on the climb, so yeah.
Amanda, you won this for the first time in 2012, the second time 4 years later, the third time 4 years later again. You get stronger and better with every passing year. Is that how you see it?
I think so, yeah. I've just been stepping up and up every year, and it'd be incredible to wear the jersey again, and maybe I have to come back and try and get it again.
Well, you're only 32, it's possible.
We'll see what happens.
Congratulations. Look, you are a true champion and one of the greats of Australian cycling, and you've done it again, and we're all very happy for you.
Thanks very much.
The key takeout from that is we get confirmation: Amanda Spratt with the gold medal, Justine Barrow the silver medal, Grace Brown at 11 seconds the bronze medal. Was that for the Mitchelton Scott team, they said, okay, normally we hedge our bets a little bit, today we're not. All chips are in on Amanda Spratt.
And a good decision that has proven to be the correct decision to make. She's that good that every year you should pick Amanda Spratt if she's in any sort of form.
Queen of the Mountains.
Queen of the Mountain.
McCain's, it's Justine Barrow who gets the nod ahead of Grace Brown, and then Amanda Spratt. And Amanda Spratt fully giving credit to Justine Brown for how strong she was on the climb. This is the sprint for fourth place. The checkered flag is out, and it's Chloe Hosking in the orange colours with Peter Mullens. Chloe Hosking gets there. And Chloe Hosking taking the sprint for fourth position. Srah Gigante was in the mix, so too Peter Mullens. But Chloe Hosking has proven that she is, sure, she's one of the best sprinters in the world, but she is still a pretty good climber.
And she's gotten around a really tough course, and the other riders in that group are all very good climbers. Amanda Spratt, she's an exceptional climber, and as is
And the
Justine
celebration,
Barrow.
this is a sprint. Ruby Roseman Gannon is leading this group home. That celebration that you saw amongst the specialised women was for Jamie Gunning, as Jamie Gunning has just taken out the Australian under-23 crown.
So she obviously beat Gigante there in that group, and which is a great result for Gunning. She looked so comfortable on the climbs and obviously had 7 teammates to look out for her throughout the race.
And fourth place, we missed the footage of it, but Emily HERFOSS went across the line in fourth position solo. Chloe Hosking led home the peloton ahead of Srah Gigante, Peter Mullens. It was then Jamie Gunning, the first of the under-23s. And Srah Gigante was at the back of that group. There's confirmation in 8th position. Jamie Gunning is the Australian under-23 road champion. Amanda Spratt is the elite women's road champion for the third time. Justine Barrow, a brilliant silver medal. Grace Brown in third place. Emily HERFOSS, she was third in the time trial. She was the winner of the National Road Series last year. She got fourth place in the road race. There's a lot of upside to Emily HERFOSS.
Yeah, that's a great ride. To be able to get away from that group, we saw plenty of counter-attacks, trying to get away, not making it stick. Emily HERFOSS, well, she flew under the radar of the TV cameras, and we didn't see her come in, but a fantastic fourth place for her. And a great ride by Jamie Gunning. And that may also explain the tactic of the specialised women's racing team as well. Maybe not doing everything towards the end, but starting to concentrate just on Jamie Gunning. Let's get that under-23 title.
So mission accomplished for them.
Absolutely.
Well, it's time to get ready for the presentations for Amanda Spratt, Justine Barrow and Grace Brown. Amanda Spratt, Justine Barrow and Grace Brown all locked on 4 points in the Langdon Building Immediate Sprint Championship. Amanda Spratt will get the title on account back because of being the first rider across the finish line. In the Altus Traffic Most Aggressive classification, Grace Brown takes the title with all the work that she had done for Amanda Spratt. Brodie, Robbie, this sets up a good 2020 for Amanda Spratt.
I'm very excited about her performance next week. Women's Tour Down Under, she's won the last 3 in a row, so she's absolutely in fine form to win that again.
Taking the national champions jersey into 2020, an Olympic year, it's all looking fantastic for Amanda Spratt.
Amanda Spratt takes the title. The men's race is to come later on. Mike Tomalaris and David McKenzie will be on your airwaves shortly with another show to look at the national championships. The elite men's race coverage starts in 2 hours' time. Until then, it's bye for now.
referees for the firing of the game.